It is not the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. We moved that to the 10 o'clock hour because Billy's got some stuff going on this morning. So we start the final countdown, kind of, with Seth McKinney. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Some of us are on time.
Yeah, you were here early, by the way.
That's right, I was.
7:38.
Being on time is the proper thing to be, and being late is a sign of selfishness. Billy and Steve, I know you guys are listening, so there you go.
Well, a week ago today, we were having a little show, and there were some things being said on this show, and then
there was a lot of frustration.
Yeah. And I think even on this show, we talked a little bit about your Twitter, right?
Yeah.
But here we are. And the move has been made. So just take me through your emotions Sunday morning when you saw it and where you are right now.
Well, I mean, I was not surprised. I mean, I guess I wanted it, right? I mean, obviously I did want that, but I also thought it was a great time to do it. Even after a big win versus Mississippi State, who just killed them, and which we should have, and they did a great job out there. But I was like, the timing is right if you're going to do it, because that gives you 2-3 weeks before the portal and all that to calm people down and to start building momentum. And to start talking to guys on the team and to recruits, which signing day is the 6th, 18th, whatever. It's coming up too. So I think this was the right time, and I think you can start telling that narrative to guys on the team and to recruits, going, "Hey, look, we saw, we're not blind. We see what was going on, and we're correcting it right now. And A&M is still the program that you thought it was, and you think it's going to be. And we're not satisfied with where we were." And our goal is championships, period. I mean, it is. Like when you build what we build over there and the donors are giving hard-earned money, right? That stuff isn't free. They're giving their hard-earned money to build all that stuff that's over there, all the practice fields, the training rooms, the nutrition center, all that stuff, locker rooms. I mean, that's something that these people have worked their whole lives for, and they're not satisfied with not winning championships, and I don't blame them. Yeah. And I'm right there with them. And when we made the move, and I think it's the right thing to do. I thought it was the right move, and I feel like we have a lot of options out there to help us meet that goal and winning championships. And quite honestly, I'm not foregoing 2024, period. I mean, I have high expectations for 2024. I think, Elijah Robinson is a big part of that, trying to keep him in whatever regard that we keep him. I mean, from what I understand and from everything that I've seen, he's done a great job of, communicating to the team and to the media and to the fans and things of that nature. And hopefully he can hold this team together, because it's going to take a lot. I mean, it's not going to be easy. We all know what's happening, man, with the portal, NIL, and all that stuff is huge. And him being able to execute that and to hold the team together in the meantime is like indescribably huge. I mean, I can't even explain it. I mean, Billy can talk more about it, but the pieces that we have to hold together, I think that he's a big part of keeping this team together.
I think, not that I ever celebrate somebody getting fired, because it would have been.
No, absolutely not.
It would have been better for it to work with Jimbo.
Right.
That being said, this morning, this whole week, I've had a little jolt of energy. I wake up easier. I'm excited to come to work because there's hope again.
Yes. I mean, like, honestly, let's just pretend you're in a world where he was still here. I mean, going into the 2024 season, it would have been the most boring and agonizing off season of all time. You're just trying to think of ways to cheer yourself up and to say, we can do it. We can do it. That's what a fan is, right? A fan is somebody that has hope and that is wants to see their team succeed and enjoys watching them play football. But to enter the next season with the way that it was going was going to be such a slog. I mean, I think it was the right move. I think they made an excellent decision. Regardless, I mean, like, look, what are you going to – the sunk fallacy, man. I mean, that money was spent, and they made the right decision today. Like, you can look back in the past and do all the judging you want on that contract, all that stuff, but today or Sunday, they made the right decision, 100%. And I think that you're going to see the benefits of that moving forward for real. I mean, I think it was a great decision, and there are a lot of great coaches out there. And the talk of A&M not being one of the top jobs is an absolute joke. And that's not even me being, maroon glasses on, all that stuff. with the facilities that we have and with the athletes that we have on this team and with the motivated fan base that we have, and let's be real about it, with the NIL like that we've got going on, I mean, the future is so bright at Texas A&M that if y'all don't understand that, then you're just being negative for no reason.
Yesterday was a day of disgusting journalism in multiple fronts.
Yeah.
There was the sideline report, which I didn't really care much about, and then there was the recruiting site.
I heard about that. I saw it.
Speculating, well, what if this Aggie goes into the portal? What does that mean for the team 90 miles away? I think that is disgusting, and I just wanted to make sure I said that out loud because when I'm sure Billy will take it a different direction later, but I didn't like that because that's what happens when, that was going to happen regardless of a coaching change or not. When did you know? When did in the back of your mind, like, I don't think this is ever going to work? Was there a point? Was it this season? Was it last season? Was there a point?
I would say, like, look, I'll just tell you what my whole thoughts on the deal. After the 2020 season, I was like, man, we hadn't had a coach, and I don't think since RC that had in his fourth year on this going up, man, with the upward trajectory. And at 21, you take the step down. You're like, all right, okay, we can recover from this. And then you see what happened last year. You're like, and you get really frustrated. Like, okay, I wasn't I don't think. And it was he needed another year after last year. And then this year, you see similar results, and you see the same thing happening again. And that's when like hope goes away. And I think that any person that answers to anybody in life, if you see declines or you're not getting where you need to be and you're getting paid a ton of money, that's just a change. There's nothing emotional about it. It's a business decision. Like, hey, let's throw personalities out the window. You're not getting the job done.
Right.
I'm sorry. We got to move on. And that's basically how you need to look at this deal. And that's what they did. And yeah, this year though, I mean, I'll tell you exactly. Mine was Ole Miss. That's when I'm done. I mean, this isn't getting any better. And I know there was a lot to the Ole Miss game, and I'm not blaming it on one game. That's just when I broke.
Right. No,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, like everybody's got a breaking point. Like you're patient. You're like, this isn't working. You were like, and then you see it against Ole Miss, and you're like, oh man, it's just not happening.
See, for me, I think Ole Miss was the breaking point. But when I started predicting losses on the road of games that they can win and should win, is when I'm like, I just don't have faith. When they lost to Bama. And I wasn't mad that they lost to Bama because they played great. Well, they played great-ish for a half. But I went into the Tennessee game thinking they're going to lose because that's what they do on the road. And when it becomes a pattern and when I can predict how it's going to happen, that's when I knew it was over.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that you can look at. The fact that they were – I know I'm not trying to overblow this what I'm about to say, but the leaving on Thursday –
Well,
the fact that it didn't change was just laughable to me. Literally nobody does that. I mean, and we could sit here and talk about that all day. We've done it. And I don't even know anybody that does such a thing in the NFL. We've hashed it over and over. It's the worst idea ever. Players hate it. I was one. And I mean, I hated the fact that you would have to get there that early on a Friday and then play a night game on a Saturday or something. That was agonizing sitting around, and then do that for 2 days. It's just the worst. So it's things like that where you just don't listen time over time again and again and again that, the change was needed, and we're moving on.
Steve McKinney with us. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Hey guys.
How are you, buddy?
How's that first segment?
It's great.
Well,
what have y'all been
great without you.
Billy did text me.
ACU game. So they have a really outstanding quarterback.
You broke down their whole offense and defense.
Billy did text me. He's going to be late.
Billy?
Yeah.
He'll be here in a few minutes. He'll be back.
He'll be here in a minute.
I can't believe it.
So take me through your emotional roller coaster over the last week, because a week ago today, I think you were like, we're going to go in the right direction. And
let's not bring that up. Come on.
Yeah, I was definitely
he was trying. Somebody had to be positive last week.
I was like, you know what? Of course, in that whole segment, Billy's over here knows what's about to happen. I have no clue. I'm thinking like, there's no way they're going to freaking come up with this buyout, and so I might as well sunshine pump. Let's bring the temperature up a little bit. And as soon as the segment's over and we're having lunch, and then we're having conversations, and I get the feel like, wow, this is really about to happen. And sure enough, it did. I didn't think it would happen that that Sunday morning, but when I saw that saw the TexAgs text come through, I was like, wow, we really dropped them. that we just was like, you know what? And we ain't scared of $77 million. We can write those checks all day, apparently.
That's like one of those tornado alerts, man. That's all I want on my phone right now is like the text.
So then when I saw the text, I'm like, well, they must have their guy lined up. They wouldn't. There's no way they're just going to get rid of Jimbo if they don't, know who the next guy is going to be. But they don't know. But there'll be plenty of good candidates, and at the end of the day, I respect the decision. I think Ross made the right decision in the fact that the program was not going in the direction it needed to go to, and he had plenty of years, and we can make excuses, and we have, and some of these excuses are legitimate excuses. I mean, playing with your backup quarterback and every year for the last 3 years, but as the head coach, as somebody making that kind of money, you got to have the next guy's got to be ready to go. Like you shouldn't lose your starting quarterback and go from a 10-win team to a 5-win team. Right? Like that shouldn't happen. Maybe you go to 8 wins, but you don't go to 5, even playing a bunch of freshmen. And then this year, we're going to end up 7-5, 8-4. That's not, you can't be that kind of a team with a good backup quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. We all agreed. I mean, even everybody said Max Johnson was the best backup quarterback in the country. So that shouldn't have brought us down from a 10-win type team, 9-10 win to a 7-8 win. But here we are. We've lost some close games, and I think if Randy Bond could have just got one more inch on that field goal, I don't think we're having this conversation. Maybe, but
you're right. But still, and that, but just add that on to like countless games throughout the year. I mean, here we are.
Hey, dude. I mean, I saw the ESPN article. I think it's kind of BS that whoever spilled all that information.
Staffer.
Well, I don't see why we need to drag the man through the dirt or through the mud. I don't agree with that. But I bet you a lot of that's true.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and at the end of the day,
echoes what all you've heard.
I'd talked to some players' parents. I won't say parents, a parent. Who said, he loves Jimbo, but doesn't necessarily like the way he disciplines the team, lets too much stuff go. That is a problem.
Look at this.
That's my guy.
At this.
Look at my guy.
McCafe.
Shaking his head.
Come on, bro.
What's wrong?
What's wrong, Billy?
We're good. A lot of coffee.
This is like the McDonald's hour.
I won't say which one it is because I like the people at this one, but it was a little problematic today.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take like 14 minutes.
At a McDonald's? Oh, Steve.
I got trapped.
How dare you?
I got
It
trapped.
happens.
I got trapped in between. I think the guy at the front, like the driver, the car at the front of the line might have been like crazy.
Yeah.
Seemed like angry. Got out of the car out of frustration.
Oh, that's the worst.
He was like, but
Those
I think
types.
he was the problem,
Oh, he was
like
definitely
Taylor
a problem.
Swift said, it's me. I'm the problem.
Or the problem was that you went in the line at 7:54.
Yeah,
What?
Reprimand him.
I don't think there's
Reprimand
anything
him.
wrong with that at all.
No, you're the owner of the company.
But I went and this is a good point.
He was
but
on his own schedule.
But I went into the line at like 7:52.
Oh, okay.
And that's 8 minutes, and it should take like 4 minutes to get it, and it takes another 3 or so. I'm
Okay, but
I'm
did you use the
You
app?
gave up too much information.
Did you order on the app? Did you do ready on arrival?
Oh, here we go.
No,
Here we
you didn't.
go.
So
kind of
Steve,
does
the
that.
McDonald's
the
defender.
people that want to get their food in a hurry do that.
The McDorks.
Pretty good.
Come on now.
So one of the things that Seth and I discussed was, I think there's a little optimism right now for this part of the season. Like a change kind of gives you a jolt in energy.
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, obviously we're not worried about this week, but it'll give us a little bit of a kind of a preview of what maybe to expect against LSU. I feel a little more hope going into LSU, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Agree
I
with
do.
that.
I have hope that, somebody asked me, they were like, hey, are you ready to now say that, Fisher handcuffed Petrino in the offense? I said, no. I am ready to find out.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find out against LSU and in the bowl game just to see if this thing, because I have heard, everybody starts talking after, and the only thing I'd heard is that it wasn't quite what Petrino thought he was signing up for. So I don't know what extent that means. I don't think it's play calling. I think it's maybe it's a little more override than he expected, not down play calling. Maybe it's, during the week, kind of poo-pooing on ideas that to implement each week. I don't know. But if it's nothing, it's going to look the same. Maybe with some guys that are a little more fired up. If it's night and day, then we get our answer. But
let me ask you this. I mean, you can't tell me from what I've heard and read here recently with Jimbo's total control over everything. You can't tell me that he hired Petrino and is just like, I'm going to control everything, but you got the offense.
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
No, not. You just wonder to the extent.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is the offense has looked, and this is what I'm excited about. It gives me hope anyway for LSU because for the last 7 quarters and really 10 of the last 12, if you go back to South Carolina, Ole Miss, they had bad first quarters.
Yes.
But since the bye, in 12 quarters, they've moved the ball and scored points in 10 of them. Pretty damn effectively.
Yeah.
And pretty impressively.
Something changed.
Yeah.
Something definitely changed.
And that was during the bye. They did something, Moose kind of alluded to it the other day and said, they were doing a lot more of getting the ball to the QB's hand quicker. And, I mean,
that seems like a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know how they where they thought of that from.
It's crazy that the sack
Who are the
numbers,
marketing geniuses?
I don't know where A&M is in terms of sacks allowed. I don't think it's actually that high, but it's the pressure and it's the hits and it's the rush throws. And I don't know. Those metrics, they've got to be way up there. Because like in that Miami game, Connor Wigman didn't get sacked. That dude was under fire
every play.
Yeah.
The whole game. And I forget which game it was. Was it Bama or maybe even Ole Miss?
Bama and Tennessee.
Tennessee was brutal. But it was only like a couple sacks.
But he was
just pounded, like
every
bombarded.
play.
Yeah.
I'd love to know the percentage in that game. That was crazy.
The second half of Bama and Tennessee were just, that's when you're going. I was surprised. I wasn't sure they were going to make an O-line change after those games.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the coaching spot, not positional.
Per Nick, he just told me in my ear, A&M has allowed 20 sacks, 63rd in the nation. So
kind of mid.
Yeah, you mid, and you would have thought they'd be one of the worst. By the way,
like the worst.
Quarterback. The only stat that matters to me is QB's knocked out for the season.
Okay.
Like
that's pretty large.
I don't know how many have 3, but 2 puts.
I mean, dude, I played 20 years of football from high school through the NFL, and I'm trying to remember how many backup quarterbacks I even played with.
Really?
It was very few.
Wow.
I mean, certainly they never got down to the third string.
And David Carr, thanks to you, took an absolute
88 sacks.
Oh, with the coffee in the mouth.
First of all, I'll put about half of those sacks on David. The other half were going to our freaking tackles that had never started a game.
Because Baselli never played.
Yeah,
right?
that was just a bad circumstance.
I don't want to get into that.
We got to look them up.
What was that first year?
Quarterback or what?
No, the line.
Was it like
Ryan
McKinney?
Young, who he got hurt some, and then Jimmy Herndon played some.
From U of A.
And then you had, I think, Domingo Graham. Domingo Graham. Then me. Then you had a Fred Weary rookie.
Yeah.
Chester Pitts rookie at left tackle. Right. So you do the math.
Pitts always looked like a guard to me.
He was a guard.
He's a good athlete, though. He can
forced
do
to play tackle, yeah.
Seth played with a Hall of Famer. How about that?
He did. He did.
You could see that day one, too. But
he did, too. A future Hall of Famer?
Played with a few Hall of Famers, actually.
Andre Johnson.
Yeah, Andre.
Jeff Saturday. Was he?
Jeff ain't it.
Yeah,
he ain't Hall of Fame.
He just
but
talks
then,
like one.
Yeah. Peyton Manning,
He'll be
Marvin
there.
Harrison.
I meant on the O-line. But go ahead.
Marshall Faulk.
Wow.
Edgerrin James.
Hold on. I can play this game.
Let's play.
Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, Junior Seau, Joe Thomas.
Nick Saban.
Yeah, Nick Saban in the College Hall of Fame, I guess.
All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, I want to talk about what kind of candidate you're looking for, like just the fit and what
these
kind of.
These two hired Mike Sherman. So.
Can we set this straight real quick?
Oh, my goodness.
Let me set the record straight.
That was popular TexAgs back in the day.
TexAgs loves to think we had some big pull on Mike Sherman. All right, first of all, that was a Bill Burns pick. Okay, that was not a Mike McKinney. unlike the popular theory that the chancellor picks the head football coach. Maybe he does nowadays, but back then I
know
assure
your
you that
dad.
wasn't
I've known him since Seth was in high school. He ain't pushing and meddling to hire a football coach.
No, he was definitely not a meddler. He would never have done that. But I remember he was our offensive line coach when I was at the Texans at the time. And when I started to get the word that he was going to be the guy, in my mind it was kind of like it was bittersweet, right? Because it's like I know the guy that's going to be our head coach really well, but at the same time I'm going, I don't know if this is going to be a great fit because I love Mike Sherman, but I think you all saw how that worked out.
Yep.
I would like not to go down that rabbit hole, but I do respect what he did while he was at A&M. I'll just say that. Yeah. He left it in a better spot than when he got here.
No doubt.
Unlike the past few coaches.
It's just weird, too. He came so close in that the way they finished 2010 and then how many freaking close games they lost in 11. And he left some nice talent for some. Well, he left incredible talent for someone on offense. Defense, not so much after year one, but then someone came close in those first couple of years, couldn't turn it over the hump, and then Jimbo really came close in the middle, and I still say he came as close as anyone has. If they'd have gotten that, if they'd have just learned how to win and built the right locker room, but it's hard, and
discipline's big in college football.
And I read that article the other day.
You can't just let your players control the locker room until you've established that culture.
Yeah,
correct.
And he turned it over way too early.
Yeah,
when the culture wasn't ready for it.
Good point,
gentlemen. I
remember the candy Rolos.
Yeah, Rolos are absolutely decent.
Caramel in the middle, right?
I'd say kind of.
I'm like,
right,
from time to time.
I wouldn't buy a Rolo. I wouldn't. There's so many candies I'd buy before Rolos.
But I feel like Rolo. Like I go to movie theaters like Rolos and popcorn.
When did they sell Rolos
at the movie theater?
I think he's right.
Come on, that's one of the options. Like Whoppers, Rolos, Skittles.
Milk Duds are my go-to.
Absolutely. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of Milk Duds.
That's what you're thinking of.
Dude, Jackie Sherrill just rolled in. Looks like he's getting harassed by the lobby lizard.
One of the greats.
Dude, he just sits in there with those.
He camps out.
Really uncomfortably loose shorts.
Were there any big P&G players in the 80s that you can think of? Or
he's grinding
the Gold Coast?
Oh, if so-and-so hadn't busted his knee up, dude, he'd have been all pro for sure. Yeah, there's a few of those, I'm sure.
All right, so let's talk about.
I don't think Jackie had to go recruit Nederland. Coach Sherrill was.
What if Jackie ever recruited Nederland and ran into Bronny down there? I wonder. They would have been around the same time or no?
A young Bronny?
12th man kickoff
Jackie
team?
Sherrill?
Bronny?
Yeah, you're right.
The 80s?
Way to age yourself.
I guess Bronny looks a lot older than he is.
He just sits there with his feet propped up on that desk and just milks every poor soul that comes in there for every piece of information he can get, just to pawn it off as his own later.
Sports take.
Is this where he gets all his source information? Right here in the lobby?
This just started a couple months back.
ago.
He's
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna start coming to the office more. I'm like, to do what? Just to sit in the lobby?
Yeah.
He knows we're talking about him. He's probably blogging in right now to listen.
What do you guys want to see from the next head coach? Like intangibles, not necessarily candidate.
Discipline, dude. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see somebody that runs a tight, disciplined organization. Here's what I've come to realize is that A&M, we can get the talent here, right? Between the facilities, the school, the people, the NIL, we can get the talent here.
Yeah.
We got to have somebody that can manage that locker room and the personalities. Think about it, Seth. When we were in the NFL, everybody's getting paid, right? We got contracts. We're locked in. Your motivation is to play to that next contract.
To keep getting paid.
To feed your family, that kind of stuff.
But then how do you make sure that you're paying the right guys? Because that's really in the NFL what it comes down to. Because if you pay the wrong guys, you see where it goes. Their performance falls off. They got their money. They're fat. They're happy. You gotta have somebody that's controlling the locker room, making sure that we're not paying guys that we should not be paying. You can make mistakes in the beginning, but you can't keep making those mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with the discipline aspect at all. I mean, look no further than I don't know. I don't know the intimate details of Alabama's track record on discipline. I really don't. But you're going to sit here and say that Nick Saban isn't a little bit of a jerk to his players?
Well, you know firsthand.
And runs a tight ship? I know firsthand that he has expectations, and if you don't meet them, then you're obviously at fault there.
Jimbo would get on them. He would yell and scream. But it's the follow. It's the follow up. It's the follow through. It's the enacted discipline after the fact. Like, I don't know how many places guys storm off of practice. It seems probably a little more common, but it happens a lot.
It's shocking. It's shocking that you could get away. No, I mean, I'm
but
serious
that's
about
my
that.
point.
I don't care.
There should be kind of a rule like, hey, if there's a week and a game goes by and you storm out of practice,
you're done.
You're not playing that week.
Like
it's just a set rule.
So
my
you
best
storm off
player,
if you
my
want.
worst player, my
Bro,
I don't
understand.
But I hear about that kind of way too often.
So that was like, let's just pretend that that's the reality. That's like mind-boggling to me that was ever allowed. Like, you might have. I don't recall that ever happening.
Really?
I don't know, Steve. I don't know.
No,
I don't recall that ever happening
even in
my
NFL.
life. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, in my life, I don't recall a guy going, I'm leaving because he's mad at a coach. I mean, like, and then gets roundly accepted.
Bro,
so let's just.
I'm
that's
not
like
saying it's a daily occurrence, but I know it
happened.
It shouldn't happen
more than a handful of times.
It shouldn't happen more than once.
Exactly, but that's like
the level of entitlement
right
on your team for that to happen more than one time tells you everything you need to know.
Your culture is what you allow to happen.
It's terrible if that can happen.
Yeah.
But how much of that is the transfer portal threat that they feel
Dude,
like?
go ahead. I mean, like, you have to weigh that.
You can do that, have that approach, but you can't, and you can't. But you need a coach that knows how to handle that, and you do need the discipline. You do need the heavy hand. You need the strength coach, I think, to be able to enforce that, and I think that was kind of lacking here.
So there are a lot of pieces like you can get away with that.
I'm sorry, you need to allow the strength coach to enforce it.
I agree with that. Like just from my time, Coach Clark. I love Coach Clark. I respected him. He's one of the greatest strength coaches I can ever think of, and I think a lot of people at A&M felt that same way when they played at A&M. And he
wasn't a jerk. He
wasn't a jerk.
No,
but that's a crucial piece that a lot of people don't think about, because you have 4 months with your position coaches and your head coach, and then you have 8 months with your strength coach. Well, I might just sprinkle in some spring drills, but right. I mean, your strength coach is part of your culture, like a huge part of setting the tone for your culture, your expectations, and your work ethic. Is like you. I can't put enough emphasis on getting that right.
It's the most important to me. It's the most important position outside of the head football coach. Like, if your strength coach is not that guy, you can have great coordinators, you can have good position coaches, and you can have some success. But your strength coach is going to really be the second in command when it comes to culture and setting the culture of the team.
Yep.
And that's the way it's always been at every level.
100% agree.
I also want to see I wouldn't mind a defensive hire, like a defensive head coach with it's fine, but whichever it is, I want to see somebody come in with a entertaining, difficult to defend, fast-paced, high-scoring offense. I don't want the extreme version of everything I just said.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want the tempo from first snap to last snap with nothing changing in between, and just try to score on 3 plays every drive.
So something like kind of Tennessee, like something in that ballpark.
Yeah. When they're
not
going,
super high tempo, but they're
Missouri,
high tempo, right?
I like what they do up there. I like.
Ole Miss is too high tempo.
Yeah. Well, and Ole Miss, I think, is just once they get going. But my point is offensively enough, conventional enough that it doesn't hurt your defense.
Yeah.
Like Lincoln Riley and USC. Like,
Right.
I don't think it's just an Alex Grinch problem. I think that's the way you practice to play against that off. Like, I think that hurts you. That hurts your ability to play defense. That lends to shootout games where you lose games. And on a bad year, your team, like, I'm saying they have so much talent, but on a bad year, your defense looks as bad as like LSU's does.
Well, we kind of saw that in 2013, didn't we?
Yeah.
To some degree.
Yeah,
I mean, we
for
were
sure.
we were high high tempo offense, scored lots of points. That's what our defense practiced against all year. And I know they were a little bit void of talent that year, but clearly there was some effect.
And someone was cognizant of that, and you still can't really stop it. It's just about the way you play. It's the pads and physicality and tackling and just you can't practice that way against that offense. And then when you play teams that don't run it.
And that's why I kind of embraced Jimbo and what he was bringing in, because it was kind of the opposite of that. It was more of like a pro style where you control the game, not just focus on scoring lots of points, but thinking about your defense and controlling the clock and everything. In the beginning, I was kind of like, this is good. This is hard-nosed football.
But they just couldn't get the offense over.
But then it came down to after we lost Kellen Mond, who was a great quarterback for that system, very efficient. Then it was like, dude, this offense, and I even noticed it in 2020. We talked about it. I'm like, dude, he's completing a lot of nice balls into freaking one foot window.
Amazing.
I'm like John Elway back there.
He had a terrific year.
The
guy was
level,
like a third-round draft pick, and it hadn't worked out for him yet.
But the level of execution that's required for this offense is unsustainable.
You're right. It's
It's unsustainable, and that's what we saw after Mon left.
And there are a lot of offenses.
Seth Munoz.
Oh, my bad.
He did this
Munoz.
like 20 minutes ago.
Do your deal.
We're only 6 minutes late. Billy will have some little bit of nuggets later on today, I believe, or in the next couple of days. So you need to be a subscriber to get that information.
Today,
the source.
I'm just waiting on some things to kind of finish that off, go back and revisit and decide what I'm going to leave on it, take off of it. And
then you'll post it, and somebody else will.
Yeah, take it to Twitter.
These people now, man, just no shame. It's like. I'm not even wasting time talking about it. It's like,
yeah, we know.
It's like just throwing a piece of meat into that, into the Amazon and watching piranhas go after it.
I got that too.
What about the Glenn Schumann thing? That one is what really cracked me up.
Awesome.
Seth texted me. He's like, "I'm all in on this guy." This was like 2 days into the search.
Because
I'm all in.
not because I read.
Guy started
it doesn't
that
matter.
thing.
It doesn't matter.
One
I
guy
read about
is
it, and
like,
I didn't
I'm
know
all in.
anything about the guy, but I read about his background.
What about the background? The 2 years as a DC?
No, give me a break.
He bought in so quick.
What? Did he work for Nick Saban and Kirby Smart?
Those things, I wasn't like, I was like, this is come on.
Dan
I'm
Lanning.
not an idiot, but I'm also not going, I cannot believe he's how we're not. I'm not that guy, but I was like, I can see the interest. I can see the interest.
And there wasn't interest, so you couldn't see anything.
Okay, well, I'm just, you know what I'm getting at.
But I see what you're saying. Like, there's Georgia's DC. They're winning national titles.
Yes, okay, that's why
Lanning just went to
Lanning
Oregon.
did it. I get why people were putting his name on a list. And if I was an AD, I would have had his name on my list right away too. And then I would have said, you know what, maybe not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
Not yet ready. I don't think anyone else at the top, I'm going to say top half of Power 5 is going to go do it this year. Mm-hmm. Now, ask me if I think that guy's going to be a head coach.
For sure.
It's like Gerard Johnson. It's like Aggies on Facebook, former players, just saying, hire Gerard. Gerard, take a risk. Hire Gerard Johnson as your head coach. One day. I would love, like, that guy as a head coach here, knowing him like I do. Problem is, I think he's going to be an NFL head coach one day. But right now, today, to Texas A&M and NIL and portal and keeping a roster together and assembling a staff and recruiting and just being a head. No, not yet.
Not yet.
But one day, absolutely. Like, if the Gerard Johnson that I think's going this way, like between him, Aaron Glenn, and Dan Campbell, AG is going to be a head coach in the NFL real soon. Right. If I was A&M right now, I would at least talk to him. Yeah. And I bet they have. I would at least talk to him and say, hey.
We're definitely deserving
but
of
those
a conversation.
three guys are Aggies in coaching right now at the NFL level. That'll be head coaches in the league. I would love if one of those three would eventually make their way back here. But I think the timing of it, actually for all three, particularly Dan and AG, could be where this next coach.
So you brought something up, and I'd love
if it doesn't work here 4, 5, 6 years like the last few have, that would be the perfect timing probably for either one of them.
You brought it up about they don't have the experience in the NIL and the portal and this, that, and the other. How much? Because I don't know how much experience, honestly, that a coordinator would have. So what do you put as the importance of getting that level of experience on the next guy? Do you think that that's a requirement, or that's one of those things you can learn and see what the coach you were at did? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
I think, it's a good question, but I think like someone like Traylor has probably been very involved in the portal with what they're doing. He's had to evaluate, and I've talked to coaches around the country, actually, a couple of them that said that their staff, they're terrific at evaluations. They copy them. They follow them. It reminds me of like young Gary Patterson, what schools used to do. Oh, TCU offered him? Okay, we're going to look. Art Briles had that going for him at Baylor for a while. But like Elko, right? I think to go to Duke and have to run a program for 2 years, he's basically like promoting the in-house DC, except he had 2 years of on-the-job training at a Power 5 school as a head coach.
Right.
I think that is very important. Coordinator-wise, like Lance Leipold, if A&M were to bring him from Kansas, there's a lot of stuff you don't know. You don't know how he can recruit in Texas. You don't know how he can recruit the Southeast footprint. These are things that you ask and you find out during the interview, and you get a feel for how confident and comfortable you are with that. Even with Elko, hey, what's it going to look like coming back here as a head coach recruiting wise? What are you? And you ask him, how do you plan to attack the portal? The interesting thing about Mike Elko is you could ask him, compared to what you saw here, how do you where do you think there were shortcomings? I would be doing that if I was conducting an interview with him. I'd say, what did you see that was wrong, and how do you plan to handle the portal, or how do you plan to,
discipline,
attack recruiting, all those things. But you're talking about the new age of college football.
Right.
If I were looking at a coordinator, it would make it a lot tougher, but you just have to ask the tough questions, and the guy that's going to impress you is the guy. And I'm not saying like Brian Hartline's name's come up at Ohio State. I don't think he'll be like, one of the down to the wire finalists, but he's an up and coming coordinator, right? Like if you're sitting there with him, and you or Schumann, whatever, and you're sitting there and you go, "Tell me your plan," and you want to get a vibe from a guy like that he learned a ton sitting there under Ryan Day, that he has learned and absorbed and picked up a ton sitting there under Kirby Smart, and they can sit there and spit it out and have a very specific plan. This is how I plan to do things. I want a player personnel director here. He's going to answer to this guy, and this is the recruiting staff and team. I'm going to have a general manager, and we're going to have a whole player personnel department. And so you want, the portal, I think, is so important that I'm actually going to dedicate a separate staff to, and you want to you're going to have to ask those questions, but I don't think just
you're hired, Billy.
Yeah, I don't think just of coordinators, though. I think of your head coaches too.
Billy Liucci, head coach.
Well, because
let's start it. Throw it out on TexAgs.
Y'all get me hired.
Great.
Some of those things are, head coaches are going to be separating themselves in that regard too.
Yeah.
When Bjork and them are interviewing, you're going to ask those questions, and I'm going to like his answer and feel like yours. I'm going to go, I didn't get the vibe that I did from Seth. And
yeah. People definitely will separate themselves through this process.
4.5 minutes to get through. We'll do pick 6 on text, so we'll have that up on TexAgs.com. Freak of the week.
Let's do it. I'll start.
Can we do a consensus freak of the week?
No, I don't know, consensus or whatever.
Dude, I picked Jalen Henderson last week.
Yeah, good job, buddy.
You did.
I'm gonna go with a program pick, and I'm picking E-Rob, man. I'm excited to watch what he can do and get done out there. I'm happy for him. He's done a great job of keeping this thing together, and I hope, from my perspective, I hope that they keep him around on the next staff. He's done a great job, and I can't wait to see his guys perform.
That's exciting for him. I mean, what a cool day. He's got 3 games to do it, but he's coaching at Kyle Field only once. That'll be this weekend. That's going to be cool. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, good for him. I'm excited for him too.
He deserves it.
All right. I think Seth went with the freaking coach. Freak of the week. I don't want to top that.
What a freakish performance by Elijah Robinson against Abilene Christian.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess I'll go with the offensive line. I mean, I'd like to see like no pressure, maybe 0 hits on the quarterback. We had a couple last week, a little bit of pressure, but that could have been partly from Henderson holding the ball a little long, trying to make plays. So let's say, what if we get 0 sacks?
We could have Mike,
which is not out. That's not outrageous.
I think we could have Mike Henderson at quarterback this week, and
Mike
do a good
Henderson
enough job.
He could probably put up some decent numbers. Yeah, I'll go offensive line. I think they're gonna have a good week.
I'm gonna go with Jalen Henderson, and just to build on what he did last week, and really ramp up for this LSU game where they're gonna have to go in there and score a lot of points. And I would love to see him take another step forward and start number 2. I mean, if we're going to pick coaches, my sleeper of the week will be Bobby Petrino.
Let's see the real Petrino offense.
But I want to see the other guy that I could see being the freak of the week is Aniyah Smith. Last game at Kyle Field,
Yeah.
5 years, record-setting receiver.
Beast.
Look,
does he have one more year of eligibility? Can we pay him?
He's got 716 yards. I would love to see him. Problem is, I don't think he'll play into the third quarter. No, well, that's a question too, but play into the third quarter. I'd love to see him have 120 or so yards and be sitting at 836 with LSU. And then we haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver here. Well, not since Jimbo got here, so at least 6 years. I guess Christian Kirk the year before was, but so I'd love to see that streak break too, just for him, I'd like to see Aniyah Smith find his way into the all-purpose, all SEC team this year because he deserves it.
Yeah,
Sleeper of the week, presented by the Sleep Station. Go see Jared McLeod. Ask about the Tempur-Pedic and Purple mattress. Specs parking lot of Texas and Harvey in front of Lowe's, William D. Fitch, and Highway 6 website, thesleepstation.com. Sleeper.
All right, give me DJ Hicks.
Okay.
I like.
All right, interesting.
I feel like this is one of those weeks where the freshmen, young guys should get a lot of playing time in the second half. So I like to see him get back there in the backfield because the kid's an outstanding talent. All right, first of all, we haven't seen a lot of him this year. That's because the people in front of him, Seth, are really good.
Okay?
Oh,
wow. I was
so
not debating that.
Interesting attack on
I know, it's like a cheap shot out here.
Because I just could look in his eyes, just questioning my
Go ahead,
decision.
Seth. Hurry, Nuno.
Torian York. I know he's done great,
nice.
but I'm picking him.
I like that one.
And I think he'll have another great game, and I think it's going to the quickest game ever is what I predict out there because hopefully we can run the ball and stay on the field offensively, and then defensively we can get off the field and not have extended drives on that side of the ball. And it's going to take some effort out of York. He's done good.
Sleeper of the week for me, I'm going to go Deuce Harmon with a second week in a row.
That game, by the way, let's give those guys credit.
Well, Liucci called the
He did. That was right.
And I called
That's
the
right.
defensive touchdown.
Did you?
Yeah. We've got that
debatable.
documented.
Okay.
Both of them were called. They were. I mean, he can deny it all he wants.
He can deny it
It's
all he
actually
wants.
on tape. Nuno claims he's done that like 4 times this year, but no one knows.
Yeah, they talk about it.
I believe he'll have 6.
The hour's over. See you in a bit.